sounds capitalistic, kind of, sort of, but the more you serve other people, the wealthier you become, one way or another, whether that's in friendships, relationships, money,
Yeah.
etc. But it's a karma, the more you give to other people, the
The
more
more
it
you get.
comes back to you.
Financial independence.
Freedom.
Financial picture.
Independent financially.
Financial future.
Financial freedom and wealth.
Financial independence.
Get your fill. Financial independence and long life. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life. And we come on every week to explore ways to achieve those two goals, but it's not that often that we have two people who live in the same home, who have, one has health and one has wealth, and we're gonna like find out how those two organically go together. Like they're not two separate facets of your life. They can be integrated in a beautiful way. So welcome, Tara and Tim Smith. Would you each take a minute and just introduce yourselves and tell everyone who's listening why they should listen? Tara, why don't you begin?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tara Smith. I started out, my first profession was as a CPA at Price Waterhouse, and I had my own share of health issues, including Lyme disease, mold illness back in the 90s, and also had a spinal cord injury, broke my neck, was in a really bad biking accident, and spent a couple of months in the hospital and would proceed to be, getting physical therapy for 3 years. So needless to say, these life events were actually the biggest gifts for me. So I have full gratitude for all of them, but it led me down a different path. And years ago, I became a certified health coach, went on to become a certified holistic health practitioner. And I currently work for a regenerative medicine clinic in Sarasota, Florida. And I run our distance coaching. So I guide people who are really struggling with any type of chronic illness to feel empowered, to take, to feel like they are not a victim, that they have the ability to heal from within, because I do believe we are all our own innate healers. So that's kind of a little bit of my backstory.
Beautiful. Thank you. How about you, Tim?
So I'm Tim Smith, and I have spent 40 years as a financial planner, primarily in the investment advisory side of the world. For the last 30 years, I've been an entrepreneur, owning a series of companies that other financial planners have joined over the years, and I support them in their business as well. And I do some unique things in the investment world. I do what I call structured positions, which is similar to something called structured notes, but it's more the underlying securities. So it's lower risk, in many cases, higher potential return investing. And, people should listen to us because, first of all, for me, I'm the guy with the gray hair and the experience of many ups and downs in the markets and what can work and not work. I think health and wealth wise, Tara and I actually started a business just before COVID called Health and Wealth. And, the idea was we would work with financial advisors, and Tara would work with them on their health, and I would work with them on their business practices and strategies and things like that. I've been a mentor to a number of financial advisors over the years. And so they should listen to us because we've already talked about and worked on putting the two together, and we kind of understand some of the problems when there's a problem in one side or both, and what that does to relationships, to individuals from the standpoint of their health, et cetera, going forward. So that's why they ought to listen to us.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, so there are so many different directions that we could take this, but I want to just because for my own personal pleasure, I guess you could say, talk just to her for a second about Lyme disease, because a lot of people have that and feel like it's not a death sentence, but it is like a weight that they're going to carry for the rest of their lives, and they're never going to feel good, and they're never going to be healthy. And right, can you just talk a little bit about, you seem to be much more comfortable and healthy than many people I know who have Lyme disease. Can you talk a little bit about that, Tara?
Absolutely. I'm in my late 50s and I am healthier than I have ever been in my life. And I do think that health is a lifelong journey. We are always healing. So as we get older, my goal as I get older is to continue becoming more optimized. But regarding Lyme disease, it's known as the great imitator because it looks like so many other things. It can
Yeah.
look like MS, it can look like lupus, it can look like, you name it, any type of chronic fatigue syndrome. And it's often misdiagnosed and it's often missed because if you go to your normal doctor and get a test that they send you to LabCorp or Quest for, there's a 50% false negative. So a lot of people, their cases go undetected. You really have to use a Lyme literate lab. It's a whole politicized thing, honestly. So we won't go down that rabbit hole, but I will say that with any type of chronic illness, it's very easy to fall into victimhood. And, we have such power when we come from a place of abundance, we come from a place of gratitude, and we come from a place of power. And I think that's also the tie-in to, health and wealth is that, our mindset dictates so much about the quality of our life. And a lot of people have, when it comes to wealth, have a scarcity mindset as well.
Yeah.
And, coming from a place of desperation or I'll be happy when,
Yeah,
X, Y,
exactly.
and Z happens. And a lot of what I do with clients, many of whom have Lyme disease, is always come from a place of gratitude because when you come from gratitude, you're coming from abundance and you can almost envision your life as if all of your dreams and goals are already happening now, and when you put that energy into manifestation and gratitude, the sky is the limit.
Yeah. And it's perfect, Tara, because we talk a lot on this show about the mindset and how that controls everything. And I was going to ask Tim, because it sounds like you're in two completely different fields, but the solution, right, is the exact same one. So if you're also feeling like a victim, well, my parents didn't have money. They didn't teach me about money. I don't know how money works. We've got the 1% out there, spending $45 million on their wedding, like blah, 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 right? So Tim, how do you help people to see that mindset is just never going to get them any money?
Well, it can be challenging, just as it can be for Tara, I would say. A lot of people have a pretty fair amount of money, and they don't really grasp how much more that is than most people have,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's so true.
So much of it is relative to how you grew up, how you perceived yourself growing up, and the social network that you're a part of in your adult life.
Hmm.
So if you're always looking around at other people going, well, they have three Bentleys, I only have one. That's it's a problem. It's
Yeah,
it's it's a terrible attitude when, the 50% of the world is below the poverty level or something like that. And so appreciation for what you really do have um, is critical even in the wealth side
yeah,
of the world, because your relationship with money matters. How you perceive where you are in your own wealth journey and how you're doing at either investing or saving or protecting yourself with insurance coverages or getting your wills done. If you have a bad attitude about it all, um, most of those people don't come to someone like me. They just wallow in their, bad attitude.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, just trying to talk about appreciation um, and living it myself, I guess I would say.
yeah, yeah,
I am far more fortunate in the financial way than what I grew up with. And I feel blessed every single day to be living the life that I'm living. And, that's not to say anything about my parents, who were amazing, wonderful people. Um, but there just wasn't much money. And it's part of the reason I went into this business was that I didn't understand money. No one explained it to me. My father was a philosophy professor, so there wasn't a lot of conversation about money and how to invest it over the kitchen table. We talked about Socrates and Aristotle. That's what the kitchen table talk was. So yeah, it's a matter of living it as well as talking about it with people. Um, and I find you know, people who have a bad attitude about money generally have a bad attitude about everything. They're stuck in a rut
Yeah.
mentally,
Yeah.
whether it's because of their health or something else, which, that's when you can get it. If your health isn't good, money doesn't matter, right? Except as far as it can pay for certain things. But when people don't feel well, no amount of money makes them feel better about it all.
Right.
So
Right.
not to disparage my own career, but I personally think health is a lot more important than wealth.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's always health and wealth. You never hear somebody saying
Yeah.
wealth and health.
Oh, I thought it was alphabetical, but okay.
Maybe that too.
Thanks,
But
Christine.
But one of the things you said earlier made me think of another tie-in between you two because, I only have one Bentley and they have three, is an example of getting your self-esteem from your stuff, right? And
Yeah.
like, I have this and
Yes.
I have to prove this to somebody. And you also hear people who have illnesses that's a way that they get attention is to talk about like I'm so tired and I have this problem, that problem, the other. It's just everybody, you just I hear it like gatherings, like one person talks about, and then everybody else, they're gathering around. Oh, I want to talk about my problems too. Let me tell you how sick I am, and you're just like, ugh.
It's
But
competition.
I'm
but
sicker than
yeah, it's a
you.
way to get attention, right? Like when
Yeah.
I drive down the street, I want everybody to see that I have a Bentley. And when I go to a party, I want everybody to know how tough it was for me to get here because I'm sick.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do fall into that trap. And a lot of my work with coaching clients is really having them take pause and take a step back and celebrate every little win. So I'm working with people who can't get out of bed, and this one woman is up to 3,000 steps a day. That's
Oh,
amazing.
that is
She's
amazing.
getting out of bed.
Yep.
I work with cancer patients, so a lot of people who have been to many, many doctors. But I think the biggest gift we have is our attitude, it's our mindset, which can be so powerful. And especially when you're coming from a place of gratitude and humility, it can really reshape the lens with which you look through. And you can be very sick but still be happy. You can have medical issues to overcome and still find joy every day.
It's
It's a choice.
same with money.
It's a
Yep.
Yeah.
You can be very, very happy my father never had anything in his life, and he was just one of the most content people I ever knew.
Yeah.
You know, just it wasn't about money for him. Just wasn't. Um, which is good because if it had been, he would have been a very unhappy guy, I guess.
But it's true. I mean, money, anyone with lots of money will tell you that it actually does not buy happiness. It can give
Yeah.
you lots of experiences, but at a certain point, you need more. You need a reason to get out of bed in the morning, right? So I'm thinking in both cases that it can be kind of challenging when a person has had a lifetime of being in that rut of, talking about their disability, talking about the fact they don't have money and how it can be hard. Like I've had people who, I've talked about gratitude with them and they're just like, they just can't come up with anything. Right. So how do you deal with that, Tara? How do you like,
I really help people establish daily practices, and it helps get them out of, anxiety over the future, depression thinking about the past by focusing on the now. We only have this moment, right?
yeah,
So every moment it's just now. And if you
right.
can fill those, current moments with gratitude. So things like meditation, breath work, yoga, mindful meditative walking, where you're really just focused on whether it's nature or how amazing our bodies are or our families, or, just focusing on the positive in the here and now. And gratitude is a great way to be able to do that.
She has me doing a gratitude prayer every morning. And
Beautiful.
the very first thing that I always say is thank you for this day.
Yeah,
I have another day of life.
Yeah.
I'm
exactly.
alive.
I'm on the
Just,
right side of the lawn this morning.
yeah, yeah. And it's so easy to take that for granted. If your life has never been threatened somehow, you don't appreciate the fact that I mean, for all of us, there's going to be a day when we don't get up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But right now we are alive. We are,
It
so
wasn't
just
today.
start with that. I'm alive.
Well,
Yeah.
And I have whatever amount of energy I have, and I have people around me that love me.
Yeah.
I have food on my table. Hopefully you do. I have a roof over my head. I have food on my table. The basic bills are paid for an awful lot of people,
Right.
most people. Those are things to be grateful for, just little things to, whether it's financial or health related, to say I'm grateful for that and change your attitude towards it. Don't
yeah.
don't be ungrateful because someone has more,
Right.
because someone's health is better or someone has more money. There's always someone with more money,
Yeah.
except for Elon Musk. That's he's the only guy
But
who right
that's
now,
temporary too, right? I mean, he's not always
right?
going to be the richest
And
guy. So,
you're not always going to be loved, right? As we see for somebody like him. So, um, I think that just being grateful for the small things and building upon that, is a way over time for people to try to move away from the negative mindset to a much more positive mindset in life in general. And
Well, yeah, and I was going to say too, I have the philosophy and the belief that everything happens for us, even the most challenging of times. One of my big motivators in doing what I do is I lost my sister to suicide 5 years ago. She had Lyme disease and mold illness, and it was not being treated properly. She was diagnosed with bipolar in her 50s, which is unusual. And there were a lot of underlying conditions. It was during COVID. And, I even view that life event, I miss her dearly, but I have gratitude because it forced me to really get myself out there and help people because I couldn't help her, but I can help a lot of other people. So when we face hardships in life, if we can take a step back and say, okay, this is really hard right now, but where's the opportunity? Where's the opportunity for growth, for expansion, for service to others? That's how we grow. And I think, when we look back on our lives, we are the sum of everything that happens. It forms who we are today and how we, I believe we're here for service and for love. So that's the other, you know, mindset piece that I like to instill in others. I know this is really hard. You're sick right now, you're struggling, but there's going to be opportunity that comes out of this that maybe you're able to help some other people who are going through this in the future.
yeah. Well, and
Hmm.
something you said earlier, Tim, about certain people aren't going to be attracted to you, right? So the people who aren't ready to hear what you have to say, this is just going to bounce right off of them. They're not going to, but somebody is going to say, wow, okay, I need to talk to these folks, right? So it's that's part of it too, right? The people who are coming to you, that you're not just, trying to convince them of something, right? They've come to you because they are ready
yeah,
to embrace
Hmm.
that.
yeah, the fulfillment
Yeah.
part of it comes when somebody is ready, or maybe wasn't didn't think they were ready, but they were, and they ended up being ready, maybe. Um, but it's for, I think, for both of us, because I'm also a service and love person. That's what I'm about. And, I deeply believe that sounds capitalistic, kind of, sort of, but the more you serve other people, the wealthier you become, one way or another, whether that's in friendships, relationships, money,
Yeah.
etc. But it's a karma. The more you give to other people, the
The
more
more
it
you get.
comes back to you.
Yeah,
Well, we've even
absolutely.
talked about conscious investing, like
Yeah.
investing with, a higher good,
Yeah.
whatever you're investing in, how is it bettering the world?
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And that is something that a lot of people don't think about, right? Are you
Hmm.
investing in slave labor and environmental killers and, right, all the kind of things
Hmm.
that aren't making the world a better place? Is that really a company where you
Yeah.
want to be putting your money?
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And that actually takes some research, right? It's not always
Yeah.
obvious.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot more of that information out there now because of the ESG movement in the investment. So
Yeah.
we're much more able, if someone expresses a preference like that, we're much more able to help them get where they're trying to go, from a social investing standpoint, let's call it, than we were 10 or 15 years ago. I mean, the information just wasn't there, and companies weren't transparent about any potential negatives in their logistical chains and things like that.
Yeah.
So today it's much better. I have friends that, in the industry, who literally just do ESG investing. They created some funds called, I think it's called SEED, SEED. I couldn't tell you what it stands for, but they're lifelong friends of mine and his son, who is in the business with him. And, uh, that's their expertise. That's their specialty. Really, it's what they do.
Yeah, it's something to think about because if you can feel good about what you're investing in, right, then that just helps with that gratitude piece and that excitement piece. Like, oh, I get to give more, I get to own more of this company that's really awesome and doing great things across the world or whatever,
Yeah.
helping to
And for
support them.
people who do private equity investing, they're looking for opportunities of that kind, many of them in the mindfulness space, the wellness space, et cetera, conscious investing, for those kinds of things as well. So there is a real movement there, and we're pretty well plugged into this space, and it's very interesting to see what's happening, with therapies, machines, nutraceuticals, just all of the things that are being made available to try to help people be healthier than they were before and make the planet a better place than it
Yeah.
was before.
Yeah, and I think too, we need vitality. Vitality is what enables us to really be, running on all cylinders and have, no brain fog, no fatigue, no low mood anxiety. In our country, so many people are put on antidepressants for low mood anxiety. Oftentimes it's neuroinflammation from biotoxins like Lyme and mold. So, I think by getting one's health optimized, you're in a better place to, explore financial endeavors, investing, and, just really be living a quality life. So a lot of what I do is, also ensuring that people are educated on clean air, clean water, clean food, protection from EMFs, making sure there's no mold because that's an epidemic,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those things are huge. I mean, and people don't realize, they've got their router clanking away under their bed all night long. Like,
Yeah,
I wonder why I can't sleep that well. I don't know.
exactly.
I'm surprised you know about that, Christine.
I'm very eclectic.
Yeah, yeah, I see that.
So do you share any clients? I'm just curious if you have like that much overlap that, some folks, if they go and they get their health together
I
and they
did in
get
the
their wealth.
Yeah,
past.
yeah. There was a time, when we did. Again, it was the pre-COVID era when we were sort of trying to build bridges between and create this thing. And then when COVID hit,
Yeah,
it all
everything
fell
came
apart.
to
Yeah,
it.
like so many things with COVID.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot of interplay because I attend a lot of conferences. Tim often will attend them with me. And, he knows a lot of people in this space who are looking for, business consultancy, like they're looking for advice.
Hmm.
I do a fair amount of strategy consulting
Yeah.
for businesses as well. So
Hmm.
Hmm.
Interesting. So who is an ideal client for you? And I guess, first of all, if you were going to define one person who would work really well with both of you, is there such a person like your avatar?
that's a sick rich person. I don't know. Uh, well, the work that I do is for relatively large portfolios. Um, so I guess it would be exactly what I just said. Probably a person with, at least $5 or $10 million to invest, who also is having some kind of chronic issues
Yeah.
that other doctors have had trouble resolving. And the clinic that Tara works at specializes in these situations where other doctors, the doctors there at her clinic, work with her long term with these clients, these patients, to bring them back to full health. So it may take 6 or 9 months sometimes, depending upon how bad the situation is. But that's what that
Well,
would be
let's
my.
say an ideal client is someone who wants to change. I always say to people, it's a journey. You're not going to recover in a week or two. It took you years to get into this situation. It's going to take a while to get out, but if you can come from a place of gratitude. I keep coming
Yeah,
back to vitamin
it's key,
G,
right? It's
vitamin
key.
G. But somebody who is willing to learn, to do the work, and is going to celebrate every win, because I think that's key as
Yeah,
well. Mhm.
I think we've been taught in our society that when you don't feel well, you take a pill, then you feel well.
Yeah,
That's all you have to do.
right.
And it's not. It's not. There are many, many illnesses that just
Well, I mean, for me,
isn't enough.
my mom is a nurse. All of my aunts were nurses. I had a sister who was a nurse. And Tim has two, we have a brother-in-law, Tim's brother as well, all doctors. So that was the world in which I grew up. And, when I got sick, I tried all the Western doctors. I remember sitting across the desk from the head of infectious disease at a local New Jersey hospital, large hospital, and he said, "You're just having an allergic reaction to a spider bite. That's not Lyme disease." And, our youngest daughter was born with Lyme and had seizures. So I passed it to her in utero. So again, like we were navigating all these health issues, and it was not, I'm very thankful for Western medicine. When I broke my neck and I needed surgery and, all of that,
Those acute
they
things. Yeah.
saved my life. But for chronic conditions, our medical system falls really short. They're just not trained in it. It's no fault of the doctors. I go back to medical schools and who's funding the medical schools. And,
Exactly.
so it's really hard for people who don't have the financial means to explore alternatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I want to do too is educate people that there's a lot we can do simply by grounding, going outside, getting your feet in sand or on grass, getting sunshine,
Yeah.
doing breath work. None of these things cost a dime,
Yeah.
but it's utilizing the elements, we call them the elements of vitality.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
in finance as well, people want a pill, right? They just want to go on, what is it, Robinhood and make one
Yeah.
great trade, right? I'm going to do it. I can
Right.
do it in an hour. You watch,
Yeah.
I've got this day trading. I've got this thing down. I'm really
This
good at it,
this
right?
is
Like,
how to invest. You put in $1, it turns into 5 million, and you're done.
and you're done. Exactly.
That's all you got to do. Right. Yeah. It's not. I mean, we don't have a patient society. I can say this now, being in my 60s, right? That we want it all yesterday. I certainly wanted everything that I wanted long before I got it. I always joke that that's God's way of, you know, teasing me, essentially. Um, but yeah, we want it to be easy to save money for retirement or to invest towards retirement and be able to retire at 25 and, sit on your butt at the beach and take in the sun. So, and the simple truth is for the vast majority of people, it's going to take a lifetime. You have to be disciplined about saving, invest reasonably well, and you'll get there. But it's not an overnight thing. It's a 40 plus year thing. It's really what it is.
If
And
it's easy, everybody would do it.
yeah, I remember my old boss when I first started in financial services telling me that if it were easy to start in financial services, everybody would be in financial services. Same thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's interesting. So I'm curious, how did you two meet?
We met on a blind date. This
Woo!
was 1987,
Yes.
87. We
Do you
went
want
to
the date,
see
honey?
October 3rd. We went to
October
see the
3rd.
movie The Princess Bride with
Oh, I love that
friends.
movie. Oh my
And
God.
that was our first
So
date.
do we.
Yeah, so that's
Awesome.
our family favorite. Yeah,
Awesome.
our
Oh,
kids
that's
love
so
it
fun.
too.
So
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
know, when you like, oh wow, there's some synergy here? Or were you kind of like, well,
I
we'll see
think
what
we
happens?
knew pretty much from the get-go.
Pretty,
I
pretty,
was still in college. Tim was a few years older, but
yeah, I'm much.
similar values and we just definitely a shared vision of the future. Yeah. Hmm.
What do you think are the secrets? I mean, a lot of people struggle with that too. They want to put a pill for making their marriage happy and are making that should be magical and it should just, you're going to just love each other and ride off into the sunset and you're never going to have an issue, right? We never argue. We just
It's
like, right?
Yeah,
communication. I think
communication.
communication is key. And we've been together a long time. We'll be married 35 years in September, together
Congratulations.
38 years. So we've certainly had our ups and downs, but here we are, happier than ever. And so we're both so grateful for one another. And we have a shared vision for our future. So it's exciting.
Excellent. So
Mhm.
I would like you each to give like just a sentence or two, some advice for people who are not in a place of gratitude. They're not that happy. They're not that excited with their life. They're kind of like, going through the motions and maybe they feel a little hopeless. I mean, is there something that you would say to them that maybe could shine a little flashlight or even a spotlight on something that could help them?
Too good.
Sure. Number one, your body has the innate ability to heal. Number two, if you go to a doctor and they say you're fine or they want to give you a prescription, maybe consider getting a second opinion. And sometimes that means going outside of insurance. But if you have brain fog, if you're in pain, if you are having, just poor, sleep issues or digestive issues, anything, that is not normal. We've been set up to believe that is normal, a sign of aging. It's not. We don't have to accept that. So don't give up. You can fire a doctor and find somebody who you're aligned with, who will work with you to, achieve your goals of health and vitality.
Excellent. Tim?
I think I've been blessed because most of the people that tend to come to me already have some degree of gratitude. Um, so I don't get as much non-gratitude, whatever you want to call it, ungratitude, negative gratitude, as some may get. And I think that people can tell pretty quickly when they meet me that, you know, I'm a positive, energetic force, basically, and we're not going to work well together if the other person is, just a negative Nelly, so to speak, or whatever, you want to call it.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's harder for me, I think, to look at it and go, okay, is this something I want to take on? Because this is not just financial support, this is emotional support.
Right.
It's trying to turn around another person.
Yeah.
And I've had it a number of times. I wouldn't say that I'm as good at it as Tara is, to be completely honest with you. Um, I can talk my talk and walk my walk, but at the end of the day, if I can't get through to somebody and they want to wallow in self-pity because like I said, there's only one Bentley in the garage, how can I survive?
Yeah.
Um, and it's not that frequent either, which I think is a very good thing. I do find that most people that I encounter who are fairly well off um, seem to recognize that they're fortunate. And I don't know if it's a like attracts like thing, um, but I tend to see much more of that than I do. But they can probably just tell with the first moment on the phone. Hi, I'm Tim. What's up? What can I do for you? And they're going, "Oh God, he's one of them.
So what's your advice?
He's one of them." Well, my advice to myself to deal with them, or it's a question. Um, I can only say what I said before, I think, which is that um, I would counsel them to try to see how much better off they probably are than they realize,
Mhm.
than most people on the planet today, than most people who have ever lived in all of history. We live at an extraordinary time where people have made fortunes, and people who have just had corporate jobs have made millions of dollars by sticking it out with some company for a bunch of years. And
Yep.
um, so the opportunities that we have in this country are far better than the vast majority of the opportunities in the world from a wealth standpoint, and as more than they ever have been. So the Vanderbilts did really well in the 1800s, and I guess Microsoft in the 1900s, Tesla in the 2000s so far. Um, but there are plenty of people who really struggle every day. And those people have much more right to feel anxiety or despair or, not feel great about where they are than somebody who's pretty darn well off, just not as well off as,
Spiritually, maybe. Yeah.
somebody else. And their
Yeah.
parents aren't proud, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Super advice. Thank you both very much. Is there anything you wish I would have asked you that I haven't thought to ask, or anything you want to make sure people walk away with?
Really, not for me. You got a pretty good range there.
Yeah, we did. We went from soup to nuts, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So
Thank you.
I'm going to put Tara, you have to send me your contact details and I'll put it in the show notes. But would you each both just let people know real quickly how they can reach you?
Sure. I am on Instagram at Coach Tara Smith, Tara Smith. The clinic I work for is Advanced Rejuvenation. We're in Sarasota, Florida. We specialize in stem cells, functional cranial release. We do a lot of injections for people with orthopedic cases, and we do brain protocols for a lot of people with TBIs, stroke, glioblastoma, so many different things. So it's a
Wow.
really cutting edge facility in downtown Sarasota. And I do the consultations for anybody interested in traveling in, as well as the coaching. So you can
Excellent.
find me there as well.
Super. Thanks, Tara.
And
Tim?
I'm I have a YouTube channel, Aurora Private Wealth. Excuse me. And I also have a YouTube handle. It's at the financial dad, because part of what I do in life is educate young people on YouTube about personal finance topics and stuff like
Great.
that. So, and I work with our two daughters on the whole thing. So they ask me questions about personal finance and I explain stuff to them.
Cool.
And then my general company website is just aurorapw.com, AURORA, P as in Peter, W.com. So they can find me at any one of those.
Excellent. Thank you so much very for being with us today. And
Thank you, Christina.
thank you. And
Thank you.
thank you, listeners, for listening. I know that between Tara and Tim, there's a wealth of and a health of a health of wealth of things that you've taken away from this episode. So think of at least 5 people you can share this episode with. They will thank you, and Tim and Tara will thank you, and then go off and have a fantastic day.